What do you call a squirrel who persistently shoplifts AAA batteries?
Dave.
Yeah, I mean, of course you fucking do. You're listening to the Beat Motel podcast, and we need to warn you that we like to use words like fuck, shit, and syndicalist, butty scrutix, angry fuck, and filth biscuits. And we don't often bleep those words out, apart from because we're not complete animals. But if you understand that and you like music, then listen on. Hey, this is Beat Motel, and we are back with Sam, who has been away. We've been a bit delayed this morning because I was trying to get my phone connected up, because despite the fact I've spent a small fortune on cables for Apple devices,
And
they just dissolve into the night.
Yes, and if Trump has his way, China will have to sell more things. Apple will have to sell more things directly to Europe. So they'll have to, they'll have to go more direct to what the European standards want them to be, and they're not going to make excuses, Or they'll just sell loads of really sort of badly produced stuff, knockoff stuff, basically, at premium prices to the UK because it's not in Brexit. It's in Brexit mode.
Brexit mode. I wish somebody would find the switch and just flip it back from Brexit mode to just a little bit fucked mode rather than utterly fucked.
Oh, I mean, where's that? Yeah. Have you? There's the photo someone sent me ages ago of God having consulting one of his angels, and they're looking at the planet, and the tagline is, "Have you tried turning it on and off again?"
Yeah, that'd be about right. So this technology thing, we're talking about how frustrating it is. Sorry, before we recorded, so of course it's professional to refer back to something that none of the viewers or listeners have actually heard. You're telling me about your Samsung flip phone, which was designed after a flip flop, I assume.
Now, this was like the trend of when they started being able to bend glass. It would seem.
What meeting happened at Samsung where everyone went, do you know what's going to give us the edge? Bendy glass. Do you think someone was just bored looking at their sandwich packet or something?
Well, you look at the phones and you sort of get why it could be quite a cool concept, because basically you're able to have these things are basically small computers, and if you can fit all that into a thing that folds in like accordion you can basically have a whole computer, in your pocket. You can have a whole, but without the sort of frustration of using a small screen. You could have a whole. They've got one that folds 3 times now. This is technology, and vague technology at best.
Yeah, welcome to the technology podcast.
It folds up 3 times, so now you have like the actual size of bigger than an iPod Mini screen in the size of a phone, which is great, but no one fucking needs it. But it's great. Maybe you need it in a job that needs you to have portable technology like that easily available.
Stuff like that. I think. Would you do it on the tube? Yeah, would you unroll this thing on the tube? Because quite frankly, I'm quite happy having times in my life where I'm not working. I like I went out on my bike the other day, and I quite like the fact that that Garmin, the Garmin which you very kindly handed down to me, he said, "Would you like to receive notifications from your phone?" I was like, "Would I fuck? No, no, I bloody well don't. Why would I want that?" Kind of sitting there, kind of sweating me guts out, kind of wheezing like a sumo wrestler up a ladder. I don't want to.
People sumo wrestlers, just not like
just big boned.
Yeah, big boned.
So I smashed my phone recently. I can't show you because that's what I'm using to film this. But I dropped it, and it's got a screen protector on it. It shattered the screen protector because they're not these little flimsy things anymore. So I took it to I took it to the place, because I know you can buy 52 screen protectors for threepence, but fitting them yourself, it's one of those things. Yeah, I have done it. So I tried to do it, and the corner never quite stuck down. So I took it to the mall. I took it to Sailmakers in Ipswich, and I'm quite happy to pay someone a tenner to do it for me. And he did it, and he handed it back to me, and I was like, oh man, I must have actually broken the screen, not just the screen protector. And he said, yeah, your screen's cracked. And I looked at it again and went, you didn't take off my screen protector. He said, there isn't one on there. And I was like, there definitely is, because I put it on like a week ago and then instantly dropped my phone and shattered it. And he said, no, there's definitely not one there. And I was like, would you mind just having a look, please? And he did. He peeled it off, and of course it's immaculate. And he was very, very apologetic. But I was thinking, yeah, he would have been happy for me just to walk away and me go, ooh, doo, 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 doo. But I thought, God, what these bloody things? So I'm still trying to get my head around the bendy phone. I mean, is it like really strong and like hit stuff with it? Because the iPhone, you can put them through the washing machine pretty much. They're
Well,
really tough things.
well, as I said beforehand, like I bought one of those Samsung ones, and Samsung is a pain in the ass because of the technology they put on it, as well as them having they're just really shit build quality. Because I actually went through two Samsung phones, one which my child in his pushchair when he was about 2 just dropped, not maliciously or anything like that, and the edge of the thing.
Who was he
just
texting?
His I don't know, his mate, Santa Claus.
His mate.
And he
Tits,
was.
lol.
Hungry. I was just trying to keep him quiet. A supermarket, just trying to keep him quiet. Have this. Look at something, and and slowly the screen cracked and it just bled over the rest of the screen. It was useless within about 2 days, and then I got a foldy one. And I don't know why I thought that would be any better. I was sucked into the set. I'm a bit of a sucker for. I like I was a sucker for technology. I've gone since the AI thing. I think I've just sort of developed.
You're becoming a Luddite.
Yeah, since the AI sort of explosion, I just want to. I just want to go back to hand screw torches and stuff or candles. But this one, I've got this. I'm impressed by this OnePlus, whatever it is. It's not doing well on the top of it here.
Is that the phone or is that the case?
That's the back of the case, and it's not. I've dropped it a few times.
No. I mean, is that like so? I can't show you. Mine's got like a silicon case. Yeah, that thing around it, right?
Yeah. No, this is just the actual phone.
Oh, bloody hell!
Yeah, it's just, but I must have dropped it when it's not in those. But it's done nothing. The computer works fine. I have no issues with it, and goes to show you build quality makes more sense than flimsy little tricks that entertain for about 5 minutes.
Speaking of flimsy little tricks, double entendre blokiness. Right, so riff of the week. We are a music podcast. Let's start with your riff of the week. And if I can find my mouse, it sounds like this. What do you? I mean, tell us who the band is, but what genre is that?
Sliver, and I would say it's sludge, but in like the
it's kind of crispy sludge, though.
Yeah, I would say it's sludge on the side of sludge of like I Hate God and Iron Monkey. Dirty bastards. It sounds crusty. It's sort of harking back in a way more to sort of crusty version of Black Sabbath rather than this sort of
black crust.
Yeah,
Black crust must be a genre. Surely black.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I'm going to look that up.
And it just sounds so fucking dirty, and I love the vocals because it's. I don't know. I found this because I was going through a point of going, really want to hear some sludge again, which doesn't just do this sort of, I don't know, that does a bit of like more of a punk vocal than it does this sort of uber macho sort of, or sort of very male sort of. I don't know macho, but this is like in a way, I imagine it's like street fighters. This is like the really ratty, thin guy who will claw your eyes out, rather than this big, this
So
big
his
chuck who will just clobber you slowly.
so he's more like Cricket in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Cricket would be a quite Cricket would be a good
Yeah,
front man for a grindcore band, I think.
yeah. He's. It sounds like Cricket would as a vocalist. I feel. Yeah, that's fair. And the music is just sort of like, I don't know. It's just like there's an appeal to its messiness and its dirtiness and its like just unrefinedness in that, yeah, in a way that I don't know. I just haven't heard for a long time, and I really like this band. They're
I
called Sliver.
I need more of that in my life. I can remember one heady weekend in Helsinki with you where we just listened to Iron Monkey pretty much the whole time we
Yeah,
were there. And it fills such a particular place in my heart, that kind of music, that I'm never quite sure what mood I want to be in for it. Because I don't listen to angry music if I'm feeling angry. I don't tend to feel angry very often, but I've been a bit miserable recently, and I don't. Maybe something sort of like that would kind of perk me up a bit.
I sort of feel like for me, it's sort of it's music for when you're feeling quite aggressive and energetic, rather than um, and not in like in like a punk way, but not in a metal way.
This is so. Thing is, to you and I, this language we're using just makes total and utter sense, and I'm sure it will to a lot of people. But there'll be other people listening who will just be like, in a punk kind of way, what does that mean? Although in reality, we're 12 minutes in. The chance of anyone still listening who doesn't like us is pretty
Chance of
slim.
anybody listening. I mean, I guess I would say is like in my head there's sort of different. My partner's been doing a lot of gender studies at the moment, so I've been listening to a lot of feminists.
Let's hope
And
that clip doesn't make the socials. Oh, feminists.
um, yeah, I mean, I forget that people have no context for what this shit.
And that's
Uh,
fun. That's why we get so many bad comments.
um, and like this music is incredible. Both punk and metal, particularly in their current forms, are, I would say, incredibly male, Western male iterations of whatever they have been in the past. And metal sort of stipulates its sort of a manliness through sort of subsonic vocals a lot of the time, and or sort of what's he called, the little rat man from Lord of the Rings.
I thought you'd say the little rat man from I Hate God.
What's the rat man from Lord of the Rings? What's he called?
Gollum.
Gollum, yeah.
Not rat man at all. He's a halfling,
Oh,
pretty
I
much,
don't
isn't
give a fuck about Lord of the Rings either.
he? Okay. I love Lord of the Rings, but I love when Adam Buxton and Joe Cornish on the Adam Buxton start taking the piss out of Lord of the Rings, because it's they're so right. Of course, Grandalm walked across the seven Frubbles and found there the grinding peffles of. It's like they kind of Joe Cornish just kind of gets it so almost right that it just makes it really really funny. Did you
Yeah,
do you li- do
I
you,
have.
do
I've just you give me space to think. Basically, the difference between
I
punk
wasn't
and
listening
metal.
to you. I was just thinking. Sorry.
The difference between punk and metal is, like, in my head, is metal are basically people who eat too much junk food, and punks are basically malnourished and can't afford anything apart from um, dumpster diving for slightly gone off carrots.
I've been thinking about Portlandia again recently because somebody said something in band chat on our signal chat about Jello Biafra, and like that Jello Biafra clip on Portlandia, which you can find on any video streaming platform that's called YouTube. The one where he wakes up and he's like, "Yappies, yappies." That's just one of my favourite things. But I found another one like. It was about crust punks. Like this guy, this couple of crust
Oh
punks
yeah,
busking, and it's
yeah.
like, can I become a crust punk? And hilarity ensues. But it's so spot on for some of my experience of crust. Oh, fucking, I can't believe I'm going to say this because some of my closest friends are crust punks. Although I don't think they'd class themselves. It's the choice to right leftover crack. I think that sums it up.
Yeah.
Am I making any sense? It's the kind of looking past all the subtleties of life and boiling it down to I don't like this, I don't like that. I've made this point on the podcast before, but how do you even get in? Where'd you buy the clothes from? Camden, I suppose. Do you just like go in and get a kit? Hi, I'd like to be a crust punk, please.
Well, I saw I was at I saw Descendents and Circle Jerks came to Helsinki.
Oh,
Yeah,
I knew you were seeing the Descendants. I didn't realize you were seeing Circle Jerks. When was this?
it was not me complaining about Keith Morris. Not apparent, or did I keep that? I kept that
You sent
poetic.
a lot of messages discussing the Circle Jerks without telling me why, but that's fairly standard for the way we communicate. We don't need context.
He was in an attempt at a joke. Keith Morris was saying that punks should buy Crocs and push up metal spikes through the holes, the ready-made holes. Um, and
It's not the best stand-up routine I've heard, to be honest.
no, as I said, I went to see. I went into that gig not really getting the appeal of Circle Jerks, and I came out with less of an idea of the appeal of Circle Jerks. I decided that basically either you were there at the time and you have a reason to like them because there's some sort of nostalgic aspect to them, or the resonance of the mythology around early American hardcore punk is such that if you are into um, that sort of particular sort of hardcore American punk, you have to have it's sort of forced. The reference of the Circle Jerks is sort of forced on you just because they were there at the time and they did something, you know, and it's the same sort of thing of like if you're into I don't know if you're into British punk in the early days of British punk, you have to have some sort of reverence for a lot of those early bands as well because you're forced to it if you're into that stuff. The mythology sort of says this is great, so therefore you have to think it's great rather than actually having any critical stance on it.
I agree, and I'm probably using it wrong, but the millennium turn, I have the ick. I have the ick about being reverential towards a band just because they were one of the first. I mean, it's cool, yeah, well done. But what really interests me is people like that lad from Fugazi, Ian McKay, who I don't see him as someone who's living in the past. He's somebody who's still trying to push forward rather than sort of capital. I mean, there's so many like early punk, UK punk, so late 70s. There's so many of those bands I've seen in my local pub who I don't get it. I don't know. But there's people almost like just fawning over them. Oh my god, I can't believe that. The only exception would be Subhumans. But then Subhumans, when I saw them, they'd just got a new album out, which was fucking brilliant. And they're not dwelling in the past. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's that. I guess it's the it's it's a very interesting conundrum of modern music in that you become known for a particular set of songs, and if you don't play that set of songs, people don't want to pay money to see you.
Yeah, I went to go see the Bluetones on, I don't know, it was one night last week here in Ipswich at the Baths, which is such a good venue. And I've seen this band and talked about them at length on this podcast. And they did something really interesting. They've got so many songs, but they played some of the old ones. I don't think you can really call them hits with the Bluetones, bless them. They had like a number 2 single and then sort of nothing else really charted. But they're one of those bands where the following knows a lot of the songs. And they came out and they said, right, we're going to play the old songs from many, many years ago, but we've put out 2 EPs in the last 6 months. So I'm afraid we're going to play you those songs as well. And they were really, really good. And the reception they got, they interspersed them really, really sort of nicely and really cleverly throughout the set. And the reception was really good. Whereas I've been to other bands' gigs from the 90s, and when they play the new stuff, that's when people go to the toilets or go to the bar, and that must just be kind of miserable.
Oh, I mean, Descendents did it interesting because they put out some, sort of vaguely warmly recorded albums since they sort of got back together, sort of 20 years for the last 20 years or something. Now it's been crazy how long actually they've been going in and out, and they've been touring quite a lot, I think, for the last few years, and fucking great live band.
I'd see the Descendants as not making a comeback or cashing in. They just had a brief rest and then just went straight back to it.
But it's interesting. They sort of interspersed modern songs, but also because of the way that they've sort of evolved as a band, and they have these sort of running jokes throughout all their records, things about like coffee and stuff like this. It means that they can sort of update the jokes. And so when they had a song which was about, greasy burger, greasy chips, I like food, food is good. It's like an ode to American junk food. They've updated that to having, no, we can't have any more fat. No more fat. No.
So the songs are developing with them.
Yeah, and I like that. And
cholesterol.
I don't think and I think, a lot of their material, it leaned heavily to the classics that people wanted to hear, but they also interspersed a few things that they wanted to get on, and it fit. And I didn't like the albums that much that they come from, but they actually do sit in. I can understand why they would think they fit in and are maybe not the classics what they came up with, but they fit in with what they do. And I was surprised by how unjarring those new songs sounded in context of the old songs. It was very good. They were great. Fucking great live band.
I need to see them again because we skipped them when we went to Brack Rock just because we'd seen a lot that day already.
And we're all, we're old before our time. We just wanted to get back to the hotel and have maybe a whiskey or a drink or something like that. A few more beers. A few more beers sat down with backrest.
Yeah, being able to sit down on a chair. One of the things, going back to the Bluetones, the support act was cool. I think it's good when, I wouldn't call them a heritage band, but a band that's been going for a long time, when they tour, sometimes they just stop bothering to have a support band, which I've seen a few times. But the Bluetones was supported by, it was a guy who goes by the name Enjoyable Listens. And Gareth, my bandmate, was doing the sound. And I said, oh, who's the support? He said, oh, it's Enjoyable Listens. He said, I think you'll probably like this. I said, what is it? He said, well, it's a bloke, and tonight he's got a bass player with him as well. And it's basically doing, if you like Scott Walker, you'll probably find him interesting. And I was like, okay. This chap had the room in the palm of his hand. Bear in mind, this is a load of people who'd come along to see a band from the 90s. I feel cruel calling them that because they have stayed together, who want to hear the hits, and they're watching someone do a very good Scott Walker impression. But it was like Scott Walker, but with the humour of the Divine Comedy or something. So sort of, or the Kinks. And it was really, really good. I sent them a message. I went around the room afterwards and said, look, if I book this band in Ipswich, would you come and watch them again? And people I spoke to were like, absolutely, they're brilliant. He had people singing along, really, really cool. So I sent them a message asking what their guarantee is, just check I can afford to put them on. And I've not had a reply, so there's that. Before we move on to my riff of the week, Enjoyable Listens. On Instagram, it's just on Instagram. It's just Enjoyable Listens, but the songs were, so they're just good, like well crafted, very good songs, and they weren't like LOL funny. They were that slightly cheeky, but like properly written humor rather than being Viz. They were more kind of Woodhouse, sly observations and things like that. Very easy to latch onto, and the crowd absolutely loved them. I thought they were brilliant. I looked up Black Crust, and there are some famous proponents of Black Crust, which I'm going to go and have a look at. And I want to see if you've heard any of these. So the first band to coin the term blackened crust, because of course it wouldn't be black crust, it'd be blackened, is Iskra from Canada. Iskra. Anything? No. There's also Matjudod from Sweden. What's the accent when it got an umlaut over an O in Swedish?
Oh, it changed. Oh, I don't know in Swedish. Just pretend you're the Swedish chef from the Muppets. That won't offend anybody.
Matjudod. No, that just sounded either Welsh or Pakistani. I should really not do accents. Ghoulhammer from Japan.
I've heard of them.
Ghoulhammer is such a brilliant name. It's appealing for like a middle-aged man, so it reminds me of gallstones, but also it's someone like having the gall to do something. So like Ghoulhammer, that's just a great name. And the one that you might have heard of is Fall of Ephefra.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them.
Fall of
Ephefra.
Right, we ought to have my riff of the week. So we're an amazing 26 minutes in. Now, this is a bit different, and I'm afraid the sound quality, I was going to say I couldn't balance it, but I didn't have time. So this is actually a voice note that I got sent through Instagram that I'll explain after I've played it.
It's called Hello Kitty Funland. I'm like, okay, brilliant. What do you sound like? Oh, well, grindcore. And I'm like, yes. Like, the Bury St Edmunds exists in its own little bubble. It's a very middle class town.
That was a bit long for grindcore.
I think that might be the whole song. So that's a message I got from Carlos the Roman, who was in a band called Splinters, who we've talked about a lot. I bumped into them a while ago, and Carlos said, "Why are you using your podcast voice?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Just talk normally. You're using your podcast. Like, this is my voice. It's the only voice I've got." So Splinters.
I've heard you sent me a voicemail the other day, the voice message the other week, where you sounded a bit different when you were a young man.
Oh, that's a clip of me on Radio Suffolk when I just turned 16.
That's your real voice. That's your real.
My really plummy one. No, this is my deeply affected voice that I put on just for the podcast. So Splinter split out. Carlos and a couple of his friends formed Hello Kitty Funland, who I haven't seen yet, but that was a clip of me talking about them. And I got a message from Carlos saying, "This is tongue in cheek, but are you okay with this?" Like them sampling.
Of course.
So yeah, I know. I couldn't reply quick enough. Like, just don't say woohoo. Like, of course. Please use me on your grindcore. And the first time I've heard them, it's two blokes. I don't know the others. So I don't know what the lines. I know it's two guitars and drums, and I think the drummer might be a girl. And I'm seeing them tomorrow night. There's this thing that Battle of the Bands that happens in Bury St Edmunds. Now, Battle of the Bands can fuck off. Just all Battle of the Bands, apart from the one in Bury St Edmunds, which is genuinely sort of ethical, positive, encouraging, nurturing. It's all the things a Battle of the Bands is in theory, if it wasn't for the fact that all other Battle of the Bands can just fuck off because they're evil ways to extract bar money from bands and who then have to hassle their friends to go. Bury Sound is not like that. It really, really isn't. It's a really cool thing. And they won their heat. They have like 5 heats. And Hello Kitty Funland won their heat, which is so amazing because the other bands, the standard of bands in Bury is exceptionally high. I don't know how they do it, but very, very good. So grindcore band getting through is just, well, they call it. Carlos was saying it's grindcore stomp or like thrash, or what did he say?
What about that? What's it? Stomp, as in like grindcore stomp, as in like
The
that
dustbins and
musical
stuff. Yeah.
dustbin.
Oh god, I love subgenres.
Oh,
Slamcore. That's it.
oh yeah, I don't really understand. This is overfed Americans to me.
What's
That's
slamcore?
that. Yeah, it sounded really cool, but there's like that. Dun, 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 dun.
Just to be clear, because I know they will listen to this. You guys, we're saying well, I'm certainly saying I think it's cool as hell. But the idea, yeah, I've now got a mental image that pace and that speed. There's someone really like 40 stone going dun 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 dun, dun like waddling towards
Yeah,
a Dairy Queen or some other American
yeah.
brand that I've never actually experienced in real life. Yeah, so by the time this episode goes out, Hello Kitty Funland will have played at the Apex Theatre in Bury St Edmunds as a part of Bury Sound, and I'm hoping they win. And more grindcore in publicly funded and supported, local government supported Battle of the Bands competitions. Right, we ought to get on with 31 minutes into an hour-long episode. We haven't even mentioned the topic yet. What is the topic, Dr. Sam?
It's all about ending, so we're just sort of, going towards the end anyway. So we might as well just stop here.
How to End a Song, I think, is the slightly pushy title. How to End a Song. Right. So, well, let's just crack on, shall we? Here's your first choice. Jeez, I should not have looked. Fucking it. Oh, God, I really shouldn't have looked at that. That was. I put those lights on my rucksack for when I walk home from work so that cars don't deliberately ram me off the pavement. Oh, man, that was unpleasant. Right. Who was that?
That was the Bjorks with Crystalline. And the way that the Bjorks end the song is this fairly sort of chilled out number with a nice repeated chorus of Crystalline in sort of the typical, I would say quite by now, quite typical plinky plonky style of Bjork. Gets slowly faded out for a really intense Aphex Twin square pusher style drum and bass moment, and it's fucking awesome. It's just it's like, and it sounds. I think I've read something around Bjork doing this once or twice. Just going, I just like let's rave it up occasionally. Let's not all just I just sometimes you just want to have a party afterwards.
Bjork in the studio just leaning back on her chair and go, all right then, let's rave it up. Go on, let's have a rave up. Go on, lads.
That's her real accent, yeah.
That is Bjork's real accent. You wait till you hear a real singing voice. It sounds like Grouch from the Sesame Street.
But yeah, that's one great way to end a song. Is just remix it do your own remix of it into something else that's completely different from the previous 4 minutes, and then that lasts for about another minute and a half or something of just having the sort of insane drum and bass beat.
There's
great.
Bjork in this period, I think most of her career after the second album, it's almost like she was trying to put people off, or she was just completely free. And literally just like, I've got nothing to prove. Couldn't give a shit if this album bombs. You're going to get breakcore on the end of a nice song called Crystalline, which is just marvellous.
This is the thing with Bjork is that, and this is why I think she's so, even if she is a major, major artist, she's still revered by music nerds, is because, she is, a lot of her stuff is so willfully interesting, experimental. I spent the morning listening to the Bjork album where it's all vocals. There's no instrumentation on it.
What's that one called?
Medulla, I think that's the one.
The coolest shit thing about Björk as well is it is her making it. It's not. We talked before on the podcast about Tricky's first album, him being full of ideas, having no sort of technical ability at the time. So he made the album by sitting next to a producer and just going, "I'll make it a bit like this or a bit like that." There's Björk actually makes the music. There's a fantastic old clip with her from the 90s, I think mid 90s, and she's got a little Yamaha sequencer, an SY22, I can't remember what it is, and she's making it. It's not her going to, you know, a high paid producer to realize it. She's making it. You know, with help. It's a collaboration, but having listened to that clip with monitoring headphones on, the bass on that is beautiful, and I've ripped it from YouTube, so it's compressed to fuck, but it still sounds so good.
Yeah.
Yay, Björk. Right. My next choice is nothing like that. Sorry, my first choice. I've lost me duck. I'm fairly sure that's going to get stripped out by the YouTube algorithm. So for anyone who just heard 30 seconds of silence, well, tough shit. So do you know who that was, Sam?
That was the Lead, L-E-A-D, Zeppelins?
Lead and the Zeppelins. It certainly was.
The Lead and Zeppelins, yeah.
And I think that's probably, it's Achilles' Last Stand, which I think is probably my favourite Lead and the Zeppelins song. It's very long. Allegedly played completely live, but anyone who knows anything about owning ears knows that ain't true. There's just guitars all over the place in there, and I just like the fact that it goes out the way it comes in. I think that's a good, valid way to end a song. Rip it up in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, is what they do there? Then the intro of the song. I don't know the song. I'm not a Led Zeppelin person. I'm a lead. I don't know. I like Janis Joplin more.
You're lead free.
I'm
like petrol.
Unleaded. I'm unleaded.
Oh, you're 5-star, but you're unleaded. No, it's 4-star, isn't it? Anyway, we'll add an extra star for you. You can be fuel. Led Zeppelin first albums basically cover songs. I mean, the thump of Led Zeppelin is great. There's a lot of variety, but that song, it's the first song of Presence, which is their second to last album. And that song is fucking brilliant. Very, very, very good song. Very good song. Some of the other stuff massively loses its way in the middle. They've got they call it cod reggae, a song called Do You Make... some of that stuff's like, I hope someone's wincing. Jimmy Page, shame on you. But Achilles' Last Stand is a ripper. So quite basic, really. I like the way it goes in. I like the way it comes. Oh, fucking hell! Right, let's play your next track.
We just said the bishop to the actress, said the actress to the bishop.
Oh dear! Right, I've got to move my mouse around now. So, right, okay, that's right. Here it is.
Well, people come to me.
Just wow. There's so much about that awake little dormant pockets of my brain.
Oh, yeah.
Who was it?
I'm not telling you.
Fuck you! I'm not telling you.
The band Zoo with the song Ostia, and they are that was the record on Ipecac. And it is a monster of a record, and that it's just a drummer, bass, and sax.
Bloody hell, really?
Yeah. And someone's just walking through my in-laws' back garden.
Really?
Yeah,
You're
I don't
allowed to
know.
shoot them? I can't remember how it works in Finland.
I don't know. No, they have the right to roam here, but
What, so you can just wander through other people's gardens?
I think they may have taken a wrong turn on Google Maps.
They're in a car.
No, they're just they had their phone out and they were looking, and they weren't looking at the house at all. They were just walking past, going, "Where am I going?" With face that had a bit of concern to it.
Maybe they need the toilet.
Maybe they need the toilet. Weird to see. But yeah, so they're just, you can already tell that they've built up to that point. Musically, you can tell that, and it gets, they take it bigger and sort of, yeah, and then they just sort of, it is that sort of thing of like, there is an aspect of an orgasm in that finishing. You're ramping up, bang. It's a very male orgasm, maybe.
Just like the way it goes in, and I like the way it goes out. Right, I'm going to move on to my next one.
This case is closed.
I chose that because why have one type of ending when you can have about 5? just like, did they disagree in the studio? Go, screw it, we'll do all of them. You probably know who that is, Sam.
It sounds. I feel like I should. I recognise the voice particularly.
The case is closed.
Yeah, it sounds. Is it? It's. I'm gonna.
It's not Oasis.
Who is it?
The Televisions.
Yeah.
So Tom Verlaine at the end. I just love. It's a proper ending. It wraps up the song. It has a false ending. It has one proper ending. Then it has another proper ending, and then just at the end, that case is closed.
Well, have you ever? Do you know the what a coda is? CODA.
It's the last album that Led Zeppelin released after John Bonham died, the one no one listens to.
Good answer.
And to be honest, I genuinely don't. I've got a new band, as you know, and Hannah, the bassist, she was trying to teach me a song, and she looked at it and said, "Don't you know where the notes are?" I'm like, "Some of them." I don't know, some of them.
Wikipedia entry: in music, a coda is a passage that brings a piece or movement to an end. I like the way it comes in. I like the way it comes out.
That's going to be a real theme, isn't it? So, go on. So that's just a multi-coda, multi-timbral coda.
Well, I don't know more detail than that. My music theory is quite bare bones, but that's sort of based around like picking chords that complement each other, and it sounds like it comes to a natural end. Like your brain doesn't go, particularly at a last false ending. Before that false ending, your brain doesn't go, "Oh, there's more." Your brain goes, and it's just an interesting sort of thing to sort of pop music. Up until the point where they started to fade stuff out, pop music is replete with codas. But like even I was listening to Little Richard's, when he does his wham bam boom coda. Your brain goes, that's a full stop. It's basically a message to your brain. It's a full stop. And that's a very nice way of doing it, and very clean, I would say. Well done to the televisions for being to finishing things interestingly and cleanly.
I need to apologise to people. I mean, Glamorous Studio B for anyone listening to this, and this chair needs oil, but I don't know where you put oil on a chair. the whole musicianship of that first television album, it's just, I've never got past it. From when I first heard it when I was, I guess, 18 years old till now, I just not got past it. Right, we need to play the next one. Where do you stand on fade outs? Because they used to make me really cross. I used to think, finish the fucking song. Okay,
We'll get there.
Okay, here we go. Dull cheeks are burning.
Dull cheeks are burning. Descendents, when I saw them, it made me realise the Descendents are masters of putting question marks at the end of their songs. And so that's, that complements that television thing really nicely. So that television one sounds like a full stop, whereas
it's a resolution, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a resolution, whereas the Descendents are intentionally putting a question mark in it. But there's also an aspect of that which, the more you listen to it, the more it sounds like a reference to TV shows when they do those interludes. Ba-da-ba-ba-doo.
I completely get that. It's an unresolved tension. In fact, it adds tension, if anything.
Yeah, so the song fades out, and then the characters come in again, and they make some sort of. It sounds like the sound of an American sitcom of like the 80s or 90s.
That is kind of one of the things that reminds me of the Descendents, or the Descendents remind me of. I think they're kind of timeless, largely, because I couldn't listen to any Descendants song and tell you whether it's early or late era. And it's not because they don't evolve, because they do. But it just, I don't know, there's something about them that some old NoFX stuff sounds locked back in time, and a lot of bands do. But the Descendants just sort of, because they're sort of out on a spur of the punk rock family tree, just doing their own thing. I should listen to it more, really.
Also, like the bassist is great, and really nice sort of use of the high part of the neck in that just ending of just using sort of really clean, nice, crisp high notes rather than, and the guitar is just sort of strumming a nice chord, and that's what we're seeing them. I think anybody who's paid attention to Descendants is basically, it is a Californian band. They sound like a Californian band, but they use a lot of jazz chords and jazz trickery within the music, and they put in a lot of details which, frankly, I think shitloads of punk bands don't realize that makes music interesting and endlessly repeatable.
That's what so many bands miss when, I could say, when NoFX were bigger, but early 2000s, when I hadn't even heard them, I don't think, but it got to the stage where 60-70% of bands we were on a bill with were all trying to sound like NoFX and all failing.
Yeah.
And it's because they didn't get how clever NoFX actually are. And it's the same with the Descendants. It's, oh God, I've got a problem at the moment that for a split second on Wednesday evening, I wanted to form a new punk band. And I used the word punk, more sort of Descendants kind of thing. And it's so basic why I wanted to do it and why I talked myself out of it. And you fucked that up. I'll tell you why. I got a new amp. I mean, anyone watching on this, you can't really see it. There's an orange head back there, an orange OR15, if anyone knows anything about amps.
Not talking about Donald Trump's orange head.
No.
It's still sadly attached to his body.
But
so I'm not going to America soon.
this oh God, I can't believe that you can actually get. Who did they kick out as a singer of UK Subs? Wasn't it?
There's some...
Charlie Watt, not Charlie Watt. Charlie.
Oh no, it's the rest of the band. He was allowed to go in.
That doesn't make a lick of sense, does it? So I got this orange head and just got playing a Strat, which is high output, no distortion or anything, but it's naturally crunchy. And it's one of those setups that I could play any chord any power chord, and it sounded like something you could dwell on with a really good drum beat behind it and a great vocal melody. And I was like, that's so fucking cool. I want to start that kind of band. Then I instantly went, no, I don't, because all I'm going to do is play the same chord structures that everyone else does. But as soon as you chuck in something interesting, like, no, pervert it by doing this, so that kind of thing, but pervert it by doing using using non-Western scales or something, or timings, that suddenly becomes interesting. And now I want to start that band again, but I've got too many bands, so I'm not going to.
What I would say is that I think people who can do that, and the Descendents are one of those bands. There's, like David Bowie's very interesting in this regard, in that you strip down some of his songs and they're very simple chord structures, and yet and I always thought the hardest thing about pop punk is actually the songs have to be genius. What you do underneath them matters, but if the songs aren't really solid, you don't have anything. And so if you don't have those three chords and know how to tie them together, there's nothing worth. It's not worth doing at all, frankly. And the Descendants are just that point of I think they sort of maintain, because they are that point of like, we can write a 3-chord punk song and it sounds like the greatest thing you've ever heard. But what we're going to do on top of that is put in all these little interesting nodes and all these little interesting things to keep. So, and I don't think they did it intentionally. It's just them probably trying to entertain themselves. We got to play this every night. Might as well make it interesting for ourselves.
Oh god, yeah, I see that so much. Drummer in Mondacrim Liga, my new band, that he just wears that on his sleeve. He'll play something. We're working on something which has got a real massive swing to it, and he's like, "Well, I'm going to play it differently because I don't want to get bored of it." I'm like, brilliant! what a great thing to have as an influence in your band. Right, we need to move on to the next one, and it's this. Go on. It was my choice, but who was that?
Oasis.
Yeah, it was the Oasis's.
Oh no, I know. It was Black. It was Black Sabbath.
Black and the Sabbaths. Yep.
Black and the Sabbath
with War Pigs and
what the hell? Osbourne and Randy Rhoads.
I just know that some listeners have just involuntarily gone since you say that.
How do we upset people? It was Motorhead.
No, it was that twat Dave Mustaine from Megadeth. Mention him on any clip and it just brings out all the clones.
Dave Mustaine and Dave Grohl.
Dave Mustaine, Dave Grohl, and who's that fella from... We talked about Pantera, about the singer of Pantera being a wrong and...
Phil Anselmo.
My God, that brought him out. It really did, and I had a great time. I loved the old time. People go, no, he might have said something racist like a million times, but he's not racist. Like,
just because he does racist stuff and says racist stuff doesn't mean he is a racist.
I'm not going to say the word because I don't want to have to edit this and bleep it out. But in the Filth and the Fury, the Sex Pistols documentary made by, I was going to say Julian Cope. It wasn't. It was Julian Temple. Steve Jones is talking about his impression of Glenn Matlock when he first met him. And he goes, "At the end of the day, if you look like a and you talk like a sunt, and you look like a sunt, you're probably a sunt." Brilliant, but what happened? What was the decision in the studio with Black Sabbath? Just go, fuck it, speed it up. Because it would have been like mastering onto another tape. You have your multi-track and you put it onto a master tape. Unless, what
How
were
do they
they
play that live? It's such a cool way of ending it. It's such like a like I think this is a thing that a lot of us people who are into metal sort of forget about is how experimental Black Sabbath were.
Well, and fun.
Yeah,
So much. I really don't like. We talked about the male posturing of metal earlier. That's still one of the things I don't like about it. And that kind of
Yeah.
we are serious. We look like we've never told a knob gag. The fact
Yeah.
that Black Sabbath have this War Pigs is fucking epic. I mean, what a song!
Yeah.
And to effectively fling the end of it into the bin like that, just go whee! It's kind of awesome. It's a bit of a kind of fuck you to anyone sitting there going, this is a serious band talking about serious thing. And they just go whee right at the end.
It's just quite a nice way. I feel like we've done 8 minutes of doom and gloom, so we're just gonna have a bit of fun now.
Yeah.
Where's the cocaine?
There is how to end a song. So this is your final choice. Listening or monitoring headphones, there is so much to that so many elements that I've never noticed before. Who is that?
Oh, it's Black Sabbath. It's the Clash with Rudy Can't Fail. If you couldn't guess that from the fucking sample, you're a fucking idiot. I don't know why I had to say it like that. Let's not be aggressive.
Unless we're talking about Pantera or Dave Mustaine.
Yeah, I mean, weirdly, I have more tolerance for Dave Mustaine because I feel like he's never hidden behind the fact that he's a useless. He's not useless, but a complete sod.
We can say bellend.
Bellend.
We can say Dave Mustaine is a bellend.
Can we say sod anymore? It's a bit homophobic as an insult.
Is it? How
sodomy.
Oh, I genuinely never realised that's where it comes from.
Oh,
blimey! I'm going to stop using that in conversations with my mother. God. I'm so sheltered.
How do you not get that?
Because a sod is a lump of dirt with grass on it. Call someone a useless sod, or a sod, then you're saying you're just a lump of dirt with grass on it.
Oh, well, that's a good question. Sod, insult, etymology.
Can we start a podcast where we just look at the etymology of like common insults? I'd listen to that.
I'd be happy with that. Yeah.
Have to get Giles Brandreth as a guest at some point.
English etymology from you're fucking right.
Really? So it's just you with your fixation with anal sex. This is classic Beat Motel podcast. We wait while Sam reads a Wikipedia entry.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what is. There's 3 etymologies to it. First is from Middle English sod, first attested to the mid 15th century from the Middle Dutch zodden, or Middle Low German zod, and that's, as you say, turf. And then there's etymology 2. Clipping of sodomite or sodomize, a bugger. And then there's etymology 3, which is from the Old English plural past tense or back formation of the past. Fucking grammar.
Wow, go on.
From the Old English plural past tense or a back formation of the past particle sodden.
As in wet?
Yes.
So going back to the Clash, it sounds to me like they just chucked everything at the end of that song.
Well, I was listening to that album, and the detail that they put into London Calling is remarkable. Every track is sort of in just so beautifully detailed. Even a song that is an ode to men using contraceptive rather than just expecting their lovers to use contraceptive. Lovers Rock has all these beautiful, sort of really nicely considered pieces of guitar lead from Mick Jones, and the vocals are all really playful. The bass gets a really nice turnaround in that. The drums start and stop in different places and sort of pick it up and put it down. And in a way, that sort of that what you have there is another way of doing it, which is you bring back the chorus. You don't play with the structure very much. The Clash didn't play with, when they were going, they didn't play with structure very much. But what they did really beautifully is layer things incredibly well. And so that sort of like, you get the chorus to end with, but it's a refrain, and you layer it upon layer upon layer upon layer. And they, on that album, they use they barely finish a song on that album. It's mostly fade out, which is probably why you don't like the Clash very much. And at the same time, there's a suggestion sometimes to fade outs that, you know, the fact that they keep changing the music as it goes on, rather than just going to the same thing again. You can hear them, one of the songs, you can hear them actually fuck up a little bit and just finish it on the fade out going, let's not record that again.
I was looking for a Jimmy Cliff song, Harder They Come.
Yeah.
Because every time I hear that on the radio, every time Mark Radcliffe plays it, he always comments that the song just falls apart at the end. It just sort of, it just, I don't know if someone makes it just falls to pieces. Could not find that version anywhere. I could only find a version with a fade.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing something fun in the fade is a fantastic thing to do. Because
it's a suggestion of the party doesn't stop just because the track has stopped. And so it's sort of, you know, it's an interesting sort of aspect to it going. And also gives the band a sort of like a leeway into when they're playing it live. Okay, let's drag this out for another 7 minutes and do like a dub version of it and so on and so forth.
Perspective I've never thought of.
And it's just like, and also I guess I don't know the way I haven't read about how they recorded London Calling, but it is one of the great, you know, albums of the late. It's one of the great albums of the 70s. I mean, just
great albums of planet Earth.
It is one of the great albums of planet Earth. It's one of those albums I'd be happy to be strewn on a desert island with no means of playing it, and just had to look at it and imagine what the grooves say.
Just like sharpen one of your teeth and use it as a needle.
Yeah.
Right, on to my last choice, which I think I might have chosen before actually, but fuck it. No one cares. So, do you want to have a guess who it is? It's probably one of the bands that I've picked more times than anyone else.
Oh,
not Oasis.
Happy Tuesdays.
It's not Happy Mondays either. It is a band called the Charlatans.
Oh, yeah.
And I chose it because in my head I remember reading an interview when this album came out. It's the second album, so 93, 92 possibly. And they said that noise at the end is that it's dropping a guitar amp. So it's the reverb going. I'm not sure that's actually the truth. But something I noticed in that, what I've not noticed before, having not listened to it for ages, and now listening on monitoring headphones, sounds like I'm selling monitoring headphones in this episode, is the guitar is actually doing piss all, really. It's just like on an envelope filter, sort of keeping the rhythm. The bass, when I realised how brilliant the bass of all Charlatan stuff is, it's because he wants to be a Motown bassist. So Martin Blunt, the bassist, that's his style. He's playing Motown bass in all their stuff. But what's really cool is the noise that's getting more insistent and more bringing to the fore to come to the climax of the song is a piano. It's piano with distortion on it, just getting more and more distorted until it comes to that definite ending. I just chose it because I think it's cool. There's no big musical reason or anything. I like
Play
it.
Again?
Play it again. Okay. So listen to the old Joanna.
It does sort of sound like someone's just gone, I'm just going to fucking put the switch down now.
I've been trying to find out. I actually did some prep for the show. I've been trying to find out what it actually is. I don't think it is a guitar amp because you wouldn't get the, well, unless it had delay on it, I suppose. You wouldn't get the repetition. And also, that's not what a reverb spring sounds like, is it? If you rock a guitar amp, the reverb, it doesn't sound like that. But I like it anyway. That guitar, the piano actually gets quite intense. That's produced by Youth.
Of the Oasis fame.
Youth from Killing Joke, wasn't he?
Pantera.
Yeah, Pantera. That racist Pantera. Dave
He's
Mustaine.
a racist. No, Youth is fantastic. The killing jokes.
The Killing Jokes. His production career is so varied. Really, really varied. It's awesome. He produced before they split up, he produced the last few Crowded House tracks before they split up in the 90s and then came back and blah, blah, blah. Right, that is pretty much all we got time for today. So